Hey everyone, welcome to the Mizrahi perspective. Alon Mizrahi here. And today's video is going to be special. It is about a big, special subject. It is the kind of video you only do once, and I'm certainly going to only do this video once. This is my understanding, my idea, my vision of how Israel ends. Since October 7, I said it many times. Since the literal day of October 7, I repeated this many times. I said this was going to be the end of Israel. And naturally, people were very curious. What do you mean by that? How is this going to happen? What's going to happen? How is this going to unfold? What's going to happen to Israel that will bring about its end, its demise? So this video is about that. It's a serious issue, and it's a serious video, and it connects together a lot of dots. So it's not going to be one of my shorter videos. And frankly, I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm just going to start and I'm going to finish when I feel I've fully covered this subject and everything connected to it. So it's not going to be days long, but just to let you know, this is a serious listen. And since I'm guessing many people are going to watch this and watch me for the first time, I'm going to shortly introduce myself. My name is Alon Mizrahi. I'm a former Israeli. I grew up in Israel. I lived in Israel basically my whole life. I don't want to get into too much biographical detail because this is not the right moment to do that. But for at least a decade, I've been a Zionist, post-Zionist, and then about 7-8 years ago, I've become anti-Zionist. I am an Arab Jew, meaning my family, both my mother and my father, come from Arab Jewish families. So my perspective is not Zionist mainstream, because Arab Jews do not belong in the Zionist mainstream. Zionism is an Ashkenazi movement that incorporated some Mizrahi Jews, but it remains, to this day, extremely Ashkenazi. And it is very easy to prove. I mean, you don't know Arab Jews. Okay, you don't know Arab Jews. You can say a name or two. You know thousands of Ashkenazi Jews, but you don't know Arab Jews, and you certainly don't know Arab Jews, Arab Jewish intellectuals, or people who have a firm political vision or ideology or point of view. So this is kind of unique. What I'm doing is kind of unique, and I'm aware of the importance of this. This is going to be important to understand what Israel, what the Zionist experience was, what it did, what it wanted people to believe. This is the kind of stuff I've always been curious about, because this is what interests me. I like to know, I'm very interested in knowing why people think the things they think, or why they feel the things they feel. Okay, what made them this? So freedom has really been the subject I've been most interested in my adult life, and maybe my even younger life. This is what fascinates me. This is what I think we don't have enough of. We have forgotten freedom. Americans have destroyed the freedom discourse, because Americans can't do normal. They can do normal things. They certainly can do normal approaches to anything, especially society and the human conditions. It's just not within their scope of capabilities. They live in a fake world of firm beliefs based on fantasies and misconceptions and twisted versions of history, very similar to Zionists. By the way, I mean, it's no wonder that those two movements, America and Israel, have become so closely attached. They are basically the same. They are one and the same, but I'm not going to expand on this. In a video like this, I need to remind myself what I want to talk about, because this branches into endless other subjects. So I've lived in Israel my whole life, and I've seen and been in Israeli society in every part of it. I grew up in a working class Mizrahi family, and I was surrounded by this class of people. But I spent years of my life in ultra orthodox circles, Mizrahi and Ashkenazi, in the religious Zionist sector of society, which is predominantly Ashkenazi, like all the ideological um, movements in Israel are Ashkenazi. All of them. Zionism as a big umbrella, and all the liberal, the radical Zionists, the religious Zionists, the ultra-Orthodox, even the radical left is Ashkenazi, in essence. And I spent years of my life in really every corner of this society, among poor people, among working class people, among well-to-do and really rich people. I never hang out with. It's not the kind of people I like to be around. But I've been around where they live, where they operate. I've seen them. I worked in Israeli high tech as a writer, marketing writer, technical writer, all this nonsense. I've been in ultra orthodox circles, as I've said, in Mizrahi circles. I've lived in Tel Aviv. I lived in Haifa. I have a really varied life experience in Israeli society. So I know it very well. I served in the Israeli military. I went to an Israeli university and I met Israeli academia. I really know Israeli society extremely well. Extremely well. I know how it thinks, how it feels, what it believes, and every section and every sector of it. And of course, I've had Palestinian friends, Muslim and Christian and Druze and Bedouin. I have seen and met everyone in this really strange lab experience that is Israel. So I'm saying all of this to explain what makes my point of view credible. Okay, this is not just me imagining things, okay, about Israel and about the Middle East. This has been my entire life. And I'm the kind of person that observes all the time. When I enter a room, when I enter a new job, a new neighborhood, a new place, I look at people, how they behave, what they believe, what they project, what drives them, what they aspire to be. Okay, what are their limitations? This is the kind of stuff I'm always curious about. So I've been watching this closely for many years in Israel, and since I left Israel, and I can't say I found a new home yet, but Mexico seems like it might be it. I went to Mexico, and fallen in love with it. I spent some months in the US, and it was an interesting experience as well. Not going to get into this either. So this was just an introduction of me and my perspective. And I'm going to stop with this now. Before I start with the actual content of this video, I'm going to remind you or tell you, if this is the first time you're watching my channel, that my channel has been demonetized months ago because I used a picture of an Israeli captive kissing a Hamas member when he was freed in one of the prisoner exchange deals. And since that moment, like months ago, my channel has been demonetized, meaning I cannot earn anything on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube and you want to support my work, my voice, my channel, you can use the link in the YouTube description. And if you're watching this on Substack, you know what to do. And because I think many people are going to watch this, I'm going to link my Substack, my Twitter account in the YouTube description. I'm not a very typical voice in our current given political landscape. Okay, this is all I'm going to say, and the rest you're going to hear or read yourself if it interests you. So let's talk about how Israel ends. Okay, this is why we're here. To get to that, we need to first tackle a few preliminary important points. First of all, what happened in the Israel-Iran war? Okay, what happened there? Second, what is the mood in Israel? Okay, what is Israel thinking now? What is it after? What does it want to do? What is it focused on? Okay, this is the second thing. And the third thing is, where is the US relative to Israeli military adventurism in the Middle East? Okay, and all of this is going to lead to the grand finale of this video, which is how Israel really ends. And I'm going to talk in specific terms. If you stay, you'll hear it. You listen, you'll get it. By the way, what I see as Israel ending, first of all, if you're not Israeli, it's hard for you to imagine a scenario like this because you don't know the country and how it's built. And even inside Israel, not many people bring up this scenario. This is too scary and not many people are willing to think about it. Some Zionist security old-timers, one or two, brought this up as a possibility, but even they didn't take it like to actual full materialization. This scenario actually becoming fully real and what it means for the survival of Israel. So this is where I'm going with this. But first I'm going to talk about what happened in the Israel-Iran war. What happened in the Israeli-Iran war? I have to remind you, and I remind my followers, my audience, people who read or listen to me, I remind them all the time, we should never forget this. We live in a heavily dominated by Western powers and ambitions and fantasies information environment. Okay? Everything that we hear is meant to create the impression that the West is strong and winning and moral and functioning, okay? And has a future and is good and so on and so on. This is what everything that we see and hear, and not many of us have managed to free themselves from this propaganda. Okay, we have been awash in this since we were babies. This is every movie, every song, every commercial, every piece of news about anything. It is meant to make the West look moral, winning, functional, better than the rest of the world who are savages, dysfunctional, driven by hatred and fear and ignorance and so on. So the impression that we were given about what happened in the Israel-Iran war, which is crucial for the future of the West and the moral image of the West, and the kind of image the West wants for itself as a society, as an orderly, civilized society where people don't eat with their hands. Okay, this is now the outrage. Hamdani was seen eating with his hands. Oh Lord, can you imagine? The West is murdering babies. It opened a factory for murdering babies in Gaza and Palestine and Lebanon. But they are aghast over people eating with their hands. And this is all part of the propaganda war, the psychological war that the West is waging basically around humanity, against humankind, against mankind, I'm sorry. They are fighting all of us. Western elites are really against all of humanity. They are against Russia, they are against China, they are against Africa, they are against the Arab world, they are against Palestinians, Iranians, everyone. They are against their own populations now because they support the genocide, and Western populations overwhelmingly oppose the genocide, and people are chanting death to the IDF now in the West. In every Western country, the majority of people oppose what Israel is doing, or even oppose the existence of Israel, because it is there can be so much separation between what a country or a collective does and what it is. Okay, and we can separate the two, but for so long, eventually they become one. So Israel is becoming genocide. People can no longer hold a differentiation between Israel, the country, and the Gaza campaign. And so the West is actually waging a war against humanity in both meaning of the term. I mean, humanity, the majority of people, and humanity being human. They are punishing people for feeling empathy, for feeling mercy, for feeling solidarity, for wanting to stop child murder and starvation and all the horrors that we are witnessing. This is now the mission of the West, and this is not new. We just didn't see how extreme it was. And now we can see it. And I'm saying all this to remind us that what we were taught, what we were given to understand happened in the Iran-Israel war is presented to us from an extremely Western-oriented point of view. And to give you a crisp example of what I'm talking about, the last month in Gaza has been one of the deadliest for the IDF. More than 20 or more Israeli soldiers died. Dozens got seriously injured with life-changing injuries. And they may not even survive those injuries. And this is a good indication of what happened in the Iran-Israel war. This is beyond the devastation that we saw in Israel. And we saw a good sample of it, far from all of it, because we have been banned and censored from witnessing what the Iranians have actually done to Israel strategically, to military bases, to strategic sites. We were not giving access to view what happened. But we saw what happened to buildings and neighborhoods and city blocks where Iranian missiles hit, and it was scary. But I'm talking about the Israeli soldiers dying in Gaza at an accelerated pace because this is what's happening to Israeli society and to the IDF. They are fatigued and overwhelmed. They cannot pay attention. They can't be good soldiers. I'm not talking about morally, what they're doing. Iran put an actual scare into the hearts of mind and minds of Israeli, and this is the first time in Israel's history when IDF soldiers are doing all the things they're doing while knowing that at home their families may be at risk of losing their lives or their homes or their properties or getting injured in a very big and life-changing and life-threatening way. This has never happened before. This is a psychological crisis. And this, remember this when I go on to the next part of this, which is why Israel is going to attack Iran again. Paradoxically, this is one of the reasons Israel is going to attack Iran again. So Iran hit Israel badly in this war, and Israel managed to do some damage to Iran, which looks to be a much more minor than we were presented on Western media or Israeli media. Because no part of Iran went out of service, stopped functioning even for an hour. Not the military, not the police, not the secret service, not the intelligence, not hospitals, not anything. I mean, there may have been small disruptions here and there, but the country as a whole just shrugged off Israel's assault. And we have every reason to believe that what Iran has done, I mean, the amounts of missiles it fired at Israel is just a small part of what it can do, okay, what it can accomplish if it's in actual big, large-scale survival war, which is where Israel is pushing Iran. So compared to what Israel set out to achieve in this war, which is destruction, I'm laughing because it is funny. Not in a good way, I mean, in a pathetic way. Israel imagined it could destroy Iran's nuclear program. It imagined it could destabilize the Iranian system and cause the Iranians to go on demonstrations against their own government while being bombed by a foreign and very hated country as it's committing genocide. I mean, this is like another subject I'm not going to get into now, but just the delusion. Just the delusion. I mean, imagine the delusion. Israel was telling its officers and soldiers and pilots and the US, because they definitely said it to Trump and US high-ranking officials, we are going to strike Iran with such power and precision they are going to be overwhelmed. And Iranian society and Iranian culture, the Iran as a country, is going to be derailed. It's going to be rocked. They are going to be eh, unable to continue functioning anymore. They are going to break. We are going to break them. And this looks comical compared to what Israel has been really able to achieve. And again, we are being told that the air campaign Israel was waging against Iran has been a spectacular success, 100% success. Is this really the reality? Is this really what happened? I'm doubting this. And we have to remember Iran doesn't brag a lot. It's not a very vain country. It's a humble country. They don't say we're gonna fuck you up, we're gonna fuck them up, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's not their style. They are presented as the religious zealots and barbarians, savages, but they act like the cultured side, which they are, compared to Israel and the US, which have barely any signs of civilization. I mean, at all. So psychologically, materially, the Israel-Iran war ends with Israel, the first phase of this war, because the second phase is coming, ends with a quite resounding Iranian win. Israel failed at everything it set out to achieve. It suffered major, major damages. I mean, tens of thousands of Israeli families are homeless because of those attacks. And again, what happened in Israeli bases, we are not allowed to know, but we can imagine that if an Iranian missile can destroy a neighborhood, practically, it can destroy a military base or a military complex. I mean, this is not a huge intellectual effort to do, right? This is easy to understand and see. So for purposes of this video, this is what happened in the Israel-Iran war. Israel failed. Iran proved to be a much tougher target than Israel and the US imagined. This is one of the reasons the US backed down after one very symbolic missile attack on one of two of its bases. Okay? It's not because they realized how weak and fragile and vulnerable Iran was. It's because they realized how powerful and strong and almost unbreakable Iran is, which is what I said constantly. I wrote and said it. Iran is strong. It is the biggest power in the Middle East by an order of magnitude or two. And no one is going to defeat Iran in conventional war. No one. Seriously, no one. The amount of firepower that they have, and they haven't used their marine forces, their missiles designed to sink ships, and all of this part of they haven't used cruise missiles. They hardly use drones. Iran has tremendous firepower, and it can take 5 Israels to war and not lose it. So this whole delusion of bringing the Iranian system down, defeating Iran at war, is just delusions. It wasn't going to happen, it didn't happen, and it's not going to happen next. Iran has a lot more firepower that it didn't put to use yet. And it will, because Israel is going to push it to do it. This is what happened, in short, in the Iran-Israel war. Iran proved that Israel's air defenses cannot defend Israel. Basically, even with the help of the entire NATO bloc, couldn't stop Iranian missiles. Um, so this is about this part. Israel failed. This is the second major military failure after October 7. And remember, we still live in the period after October 7, of after October 7. October 7 was a major security failure on the Israeli side, and this phase of the war with Iran was an even bigger one. They planned for a major victory, a major destabilization of Iran, and they failed. They didn't even come close. It was hardly a match between equals because Iran could destroy Israel completely with its missiles. But I'm going to stop with this subject now because this is what I wanted to say, which is relevant to the topic of how Israel ends, which is the real actual topic of this video. The second thing I want to talk about, which is relevant, is the mood in Israel. It is closely related to the first subject and to October 7 and to the whole Zionist consciousness. And listen, I was in Israel almost my entire life, and I've looked at Israeli media and Israeli government messages critically for many years. But I have never seen Israel so deeply and utterly drowned in propaganda the way it is now. I look at Israeli media, and the country is in almost in ecstasy. Everything is amazing. Everything is wonderful. Everything is just brilliant. The economy is amazing. The real estate market is recovering. It's fantastic. The high tech is amazing. Everything is amazing. And Netanyahu actually says, now that we've defeated Iran at war, many new opportunities present themselves. This is, I mean, the level of detachment from reality, I mean, has never been this more amazingly pronounced. And I'm contracting this amazing thing. It is truly a wonder. It's wondrous. It's hardly credible. Israel is never mind. The media and the government, Israeli officials are telling the Israeli public that things are just, they are in a constant state of orgasm. Things could not be better. Could not, it's amazing, 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 amazing. It was never better. It could not be better. This tells me that the Israeli system is in panic. Okay? They would not use this kind of blatant, extreme propaganda unless they were panicking, unless they were feeling or fearing that the end may actually be near, that the whole thing is collapsing, and it is collapsing. Israeli media and the Israeli government, they are actually committing a huge crime against Jewish Israelis now because they are not telling them the truth, that their country is collapsing. It is the exact opposite of what they are saying. They are presenting, it's not even a rosy picture, it's idyllic. As I've said it, it's amazing. Everything is just fantastic, and society is strong, economy is strong, the military is strong, and we've defeated Iran. And within the span of one day, they go through with now we can have peace with the entire Middle East because we have defeated Iran. They have this delusion that they have defeated Iran. What are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? What defeat? What defeat? What Iranian feels defeated? Have you seen a defeated Iranian? One? I haven't seen one. And I'm not going to see one. And you are not going to see one either. But this is the delusion they live in. And in the same day, they can have this delusion about having peace now with everybody, and they are not going to have peace with anybody. I mean, just a few days ago, they talked about we are now going to normalize with Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, and Oman. I saw it in some Israeli news website. And this was so hilarious. What are they talking about? Arab countries, not only have they seen the genocide and realized, if they ever forgot what Israel really was and what it really was after, they can see how Israel was almost crushed by Iran. And the only reason Iran didn't really crush Israel and destroy Israel, and why they don't finish Israel in one day, is because they don't want to be nuked by anyone. They have to be patient and strategic about this. This is, again, where this video is going. Iran could shoot 1,000 ballistic missiles at Israel in one day and just finish the country. But politically, this would be unwise because this would invite a nuclear reaction by Israel, by Israeli submarines, or by the US or the UK or France. This is not something they want to risk. So they operate, and they don't want the US to join the war. They are operating within a set of constraints. And if you look at things from this perspective, you see how gloriously they are managing this. They are punishing Israel just enough to destabilize it, but not to invite the Americans in and not to risk a nuclear reaction. I'm going to talk a little bit about the possibility of a nuclear reaction against Iran, because this is also something many people want to hear. So Israel is elated, the system, in a way that's extremely disconnected from reality. It doesn't know what it wants to do. Okay, it has delusions about peace, but about war, because, as I said, in the same day, they are deluding themselves about Saudi Arabia or Indonesia, normalizing with them. And 2 hours later, they are going to have Greater Israel and kick off Arabs and take over land and force Syria to give up the Golan Heights and force Lebanon to all those delusions of grandeur that Zionists have in Israel. So Israelis are in a state of extremely and violently denied panic. And they excel at it. I mean, they've been in denial. They denied the genocide. They denied the occupation. They denied the Nakba. Zionism is a state of violent denial. I mean, day and night about everything that's happening. And now this is increased to an almost clinical or institutionalized level. But not telling Israelis the truth about what happened in this war, including inside the IDF and all the relevant security structures, by forcing this false impression of a win over Iran, they are keeping the window open or the door open for a renewed war with Iran, when a normal country would be thinking at this stage, this is not a task for us. Okay, this Iran is too strong. We cannot cope with this. We cannot handle this, and we should not risk what they can do to us. But this is not Israel. Israel doesn't think normally. They have these peaks of mania and victimhood and anger and rage and denial. They can't do anything normal, and it is part of the reason I personally knew on October 7th this country was toast and finished and won't make it in one piece to the other side of whatever was coming. I knew it on October 7th, and I said it multiple times. Because it is blocked from dealing with reality as reality truly is, it always reaches the wrong conclusions because it cannot admit defeat in its attempted war against Iran. It's going to lead itself to another disaster. And I'm sure that even IDF officers who saw the devastation and saw their bases ruined, they cave to the peer pressure and embrace the winning propaganda. This is the kind of pressure that Israel has. I mean, if you think like a normal person, you don't have a place in Israeli security apparatus, in Israeli government. You need to be hysterical, violent, and a shallow thinker. And this is another very good predictor of Israel attacking Iran again, which is something it is going to do 100%. 100%. Okay? 100%, not 99 and not 99 and a half, 100%. Israel is going to attack Iran because it has no idea, it has no connection to reality. And the mood in Israel now is just outside any known spectrum. Okay? So I'm going to move on to the last bit of this preliminary discussion about what are the different building blocks in Israel's end, as I see it. Now, the third part of it is very interesting, and it is where the US is. Where the US is. And we have seen enough of Trump, I believe, to see that a strategy is emerging in what the Trump administration is doing vis-a-vis Israel and its aspirations in the Middle East. Now, in the last few months, I made some bold predictions about what's going to happen. I made a video titled "The Great Miscalculation." And in this video, I explain what I think Zionist Jews have grossly miscalculated when they believed that the US was going to war with Iran on their behalf. I said that what I think was happening, what I thought was happening, was Jewish Zionists were believing they were taking over the MAGA movement and harnessing it to their agenda, which is going to war with Iran and quote unquote fighting anti Semitism in the US. This is what they believed was happening. They didn't realize that MAGA was taking advantage of their power to accomplish MAGA agenda. They believed they were fooling MAGA. What MAGA did, this was what I said in that video months ago. And I said MAGA canceled the Jewish voice or the Jewish political power as an opponent by pretending to have a pact with them. Because Jews were traditionally have been on the liberal side, on the democratic side. MAGA brought them over or bought them over to their side, canceled them as an opponent, and it gave them the vague impression it was going to go to war with Iran on their behalf for Israel. And they believed it. So they thought, the Zionists thought that they were fooling MAGA to go to war with Iran, and once that war was over, they were going to go back to being Democrats and liberals. But MAGA had a different agenda. They were using the Jewish political power, the Jewish billionaires, the Jewish Zionists, the great Zionist lobby in the US, to get to power. But they had no intention of going to a major war in the Middle East for the Jewish lobby, for the Israel lobby, for Israel. This was what I said months ago. And I also made another video about that. I titled it, "You Can't Outcon the Dawn." And I explained this con by Trump in more detail. And during this war, I made a video titled, "No One is Coming to Save Israel from Iran." And 2 hours after this, the US bombed made a symbolic bombing, okay? It was more theater than war, really. And almost immediately after that, the Iranians retaliated against American bases, and the war was over. So what can we learn from what we've seen until now? And I think that the pattern that emerges is something like this. The US is willing to sacrifice its soft power for Israel, its credibility, but not its hard power, not soldiers. The US is going to use its diplomatic power to deceive Israel's enemies with fake negotiations. This is what they did to Hamas, to Hezbollah, and to Iran on Israel's behalf. Okay? And once Israel is finished, or once a war to stop because it's failing, the US is going to rush in and deceive Israel's enemies or victims again on Israel's behalf and create an impression that suits Israel. But it's not sending soldiers to fight Israel's war. And I think that this is the line that we're seeing now, and it's kind of clear because remember, hours or days maximum after this episode with the aircraft carrier in the Houthi war, that they had to escape and an airplane fell into the water and sank. Basically, they had to do this extreme maneuver to avoid Houthi missiles. America said, okay, that's it, this campaign is over. And I think it is clear to Trump and his administration that having thousands of American soldiers die, the American economy sinking and drowning in trillions of additional debt and destroying their standing in the Middle East and losing all their assets in the Middle East is out of the question. It's not something they are going to do. Trump may have had some fantasies about being able to accomplish something like this, and maybe he fooled the Israelis into believing he was going to do something like this. But I think that once he got into office and began receiving intelligence briefings and realized how powerful Iran really was, or what the real cost of a campaign like this is going to be, he said, no way. I'm not destroying my presidency, the MAGA movement, the Republican Party, and the US to please Bibi. So, to sum up what I've said so far, Israel was defeated in the Iran war, but it didn't have enough. Okay? Its urge to humiliate other countries, other militaries, hasn't been uh, satisfied. It needs to do more. It needs more of this excitement. It will attack Iran again. The Israeli mood is so delusional, it supports something like this. And the US is probably staying out of this. This is what we know. So when the second phase of the Israel-Iran war begins, this is where Israel's end is going to also begin in serious. This is where it's going to begin. This is not where it's going to end. In the second phase of this war, which Israel will again initiate, what I believe is going to happen is a much more devastating Iranian attack against Israel, against Israeli infrastructure. I mean, the electrical grid, communication lines, the internet, Israeli media. Remember, Israel bombed Iranian TV. Of course, military command and control centers, military communication lines, all of this. And maybe some Israeli hospitals are going to be destroyed or put out of service because some more than one strategic site in Israel is adjacent to a hospital. So the next phase of this war is going to be much more devastating for Israel. It is going to be so devastating. It's going to disrupt the country completely. It's going to bring the country to a standstill. It's going to make it impossible for the IDF to command its divisions and battalions. Because every command center is going to be hit in a devastating, destructive way. With the big missiles, not the small missiles that we have seen mostly this far. And many Israelis are going to remain in the dark. Many neighborhoods are going to be destroyed. Many Israelis are not going to have internet or cellular communication. Some media channels and outlets will cease to exist because they are not built for something like this. And basically, Israel will cease to function as a country. And once Iran achieves this, it will stop its campaign. Because Iran's campaign is not meant to kill great numbers of Israelis. This is not their intention. Their intention is political and, of course, military. It is to stop Israel, to destabilize, to disrupt, and to destroy Israel as a country. Okay, not to do an Israeli Holocaust. This is not their intention. And again, wisely, they don't want to risk a nuclear reaction. They want to win the war, they want to destroy Israel, but they don't want to risk a nuclear reaction. And I'm going to say a word about the new nuclear reaction in a minute. Once this happens, this is where Israel's troubles really begin. But now I see that I have to stop because life calls. And I'm going to continue later today or maybe tomorrow. I'm going to continue this video. So, to be continued.